Okay. It happens to be a dry and sunny Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, February
Sunday at Raceway Park.
February the 3rd, T-U-R-D, the 3rd, February the 3rd, 2013, Super Bowl Sunday. And that's what it is.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Or if anybody, my idea is if anybody was meant to get fired, they should get a can of beets put on their desk. Here, beat it. A can of beets. That's your going away present for getting canned. Get it? Getting canned.
Can of beets.
Here's a can of beets. Beat it, buddy. Ooh. Welcome to Progressive Discussions. We're coming to you from the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey. And I am your host for Progressive Discussions, James P. Madonna of Mega Life 21, the hardest hitting internet talk radio station on the planet. And I am dressed up because it happens to be Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm very tired because I had a very invigorating late evening last night doing video and color commentary, or black and white commentary, whatever you want to use, whatever words you want to use, for a professional wrestling event that took place in Middletown, New York, Hudson Valley, Orange County, Middletown, New York. It was at the Party Zone USA. Very nice place. The Party Zone USA in Middletown, New York. Check it out. And it was sponsored by the Greek Cafe of Middletown, New York. So I want to salute the owner of the Party Zone USA and thank him for providing a splendid venue for the wrestling show. And I would like to also salute the Greek Cafe for providing delicious food for catering. Some great food for the staff and the professional wrestlers. So I thank you, the Greek Cafe of Middletown and the Party Zone.
Probably went broke on feeding the rest.
USA. No, not at all. No, they didn't go broke. But anyway, this is my Super Bowl Sunday go-to-meeting outfit, as Jed Clampett used to say when they were dressed up on a Sunday go to meeting clothes. And that's pretty much it. I got here a little late because the promoter and second generation pro wrestler who starred in last night's event, Mr. Jason Speed, wanted to speak to me on video, and we had to go over what happened last night, and we did. And I want to salute Jason Speed for an outstanding match he had with Dr. Butcher. Too bad it ended the way it did, but you have a return New York style, Bronx style street fight match coming up in I believe it's a town called Ellenville, New York, which I made a joke and said it was named after Ellen DeGenerate. You know, the lesbian woman on TV, Ellen DeGenerate.
Degenerous.
She's generous?
Degenerous.
Oh, degenerous.
Very generous.
Oh, yeah. Well, she discovered that little skinny little punk pipsqueak, Justin Peepee, whatever it was.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber?
Bieber.
Beaver?
Bieber.
Bieber?
Bieber, beep,
Toot toot, yeah, beep beep.
beep.
Like
beep.
like Donna Summers.
Beep.
Toot toot, yeah, beep beep. Beeper. Yeah, he's a skinny little pencil neck geek.
Okay, too.
Got all the little girlies cry and scream for. You know, these boy bands and these boy singers. And they got a couple new replacements for Bieber because as the chicks get older, I think they get tired of the boy singer. So you got to keep on replacing them. You know what I mean? I would like to formally pipe aboard my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman, aboard our progressive liberal pirate ship. and I'm not ashamed to say liberal, like those other progressives that lack a spine, and they feel guilty for using the word liberal. But I'll get right in the face of conservatives. I don't care, because either I could do it with these two powerful hands and muscles, or I could do it with my shillelagh, my blackthorn shillelagh from Ireland. But usually that's a very last resort. I'm like the scorpion. They don't inject venom unless they're pressed into the corner and they have nothing else to lose. And as a last resort, scorpions will inject venom. Sometimes they'll stick you and not inject venom. They conserve their venom. Ahoy, matey, and welcome. The Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman. How are you feeling this Sunday? Because normally we do the show on Saturday, but I had to do the wrestling event. How you feeling?
Still got my jaw.
How the hell are you? Oh, his jaw, he has a spasm in his
Lockjaw, baby.
mandibular area. Lockjaw. But he has trouble eating, but thank God he could still speak.
Can't bite down on a big hamburger.
No, can't. Well, I know I forgot to ring my levity bells, old-fashioned jingle bells, because usually when I say something funny, I ring them. I forgot to ring it. I know, they sound a little low. The volume, maybe my ears are plugged up. Even me bosun's whistle sounded a little lower. Did it?
Your ears are clogged.
Oh, maybe it's the heating system making all this racket. All right.
You gotta get that new thing that suctions out your ear.
You mean I might have a lot of wax? Did anybody ever make a candle out of earwax?
No.
Is it possible to collect earwax and make a candle?
Yeah. You wanna, take years to collect enough. Jeez.
If you were a mad scientist, you would probably do something like that.
I would never.
Or you would probably, instead of jury duty, you would have attractive young buxomy ladies report for milking duty. You would probably milk all these hot-looking chicks with breasts and milk them like cows for colostrum, for human colostrum or human mother's milk, and use a low-heat dehydration process and make some kind of a protein drink out of it.
That was a porn book I never got around to.
You mean I just invented something new?
No, I did years ago, but never got around to it.
You actually had that idea of milking women?
Yeah.
Sounds like a Twilight Zone.
The title was The Farm.
Or an Outer Limits episode, huh?
The title of the book was The Farm.
The Farm, and it was in a futuristic time?
Well, no, it wasn't futuristic at all.
No. Well, let's sink our teeth into these readings, because I have no time for a monologue. But I do have time for my antioxidant-rich tea.
Workers who gripe about the boss or their colleagues on Facebook may again be at risk of getting fired unless a U.S. appeals court decision is reversed.
Yeah, but it's your time, you're home. You're not on company property.
The National Labor Relations Board ruled last year that employees can use social media to complain or comment on management without retribution.
It's supposed to be a First Amendment right to say what you want on your own time, right?
No. The Constitution is only upheld and loved and etc. if it involves the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, then you cannot do anything to alter, enhance, or whatever. But as far as is the First Amendment, you cannot shout fire in a theater. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. You cannot
Well,
do this.
that's
You cannot
wrong.
do that.
I mean, false alarms and shouting fire in a theater is very, very wrong. But I'm talking about if your boss is a no good scumbag, you know, you can't, you know, and you go home pissed off every day. You cannot complain on your own time on the internet.
The decision was among 220 issued in 2012 by the 5-person board, 3 of whose appointments were ruled invalid last week by the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington. It puts all of the board's actions into question. If you're an employee who has been fired and you want your job back, you are not going to get it until this is resolved. The unanimous ruling may upend decisions involving companies such as Dish Network Corp., Station Casinos LLC, and Gannett Company on a range of issues related to negotiations over contract terms, access to the workplace when employees are off duty, and whether union dues can be deducted from paychecks after collective bargaining agreements expire. The National Labor Relations Board enforces labor law and investigates complaints brought by employees, management, and unions. In one of 2 Facebook-related cases, the board on December the 14th ordered Hispanics United of Buffalo Incorporated, a nonprofit, to reinstate and restore the pay of 5 employees fired in 2010 after they joined a Facebook discussion to defend their work against comments by a coworker. The organization dismissed the 5 workers, citing harassment using Facebook. In September, the board directed a Chicago area Barish Motorin Work AG dealership to rescind a policy in its employee handbook barring language that might harm the dealership's image. The board did not require Carl Knaz Motors Incorporated to rehire the worker, who used his Facebook page to mock a sales event and post photos of an accident at a co-owned Land Rover dealership. A 2012 review of 7 cases before the National Labor Relations Board found at least 6 employers had social media policies that were overboard and thus unlawful under U.S. labor law. The appeals court ruling last week may prompt employers to ignore some of the 2012 decisions, including policies regarding workers' use of social media.
Oh boy.
The decision, which found President Obama violated the Constitution, in part by making recess appointments when the Senate wasn't technically in recess, also may spur employers who lost the case to file an appeal with the court. Everything now is in chaos land. It's not yet clear whether all board decisions made since Obama's appointees took office will unravel, or whether challenges will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Any employer that's thinking of seeking review right now should go to the D.C. Circuit, which they can do, said Arthur Carter, a lawyer with Haynes and Boone, LLP in Dallas. Employers who have complied with the National Labor Relations Board's decision during the year may choose not to challenge.
Well, many years ago, a vocational social worker had told me, you do not have to like your coworkers or the people you work for, but you can certainly work with them and get the job done. But you don't have to like them. Now, when somebody posts information about anybody in the workplace, anyone in the workplace and their employer on Facebook, isn't it only the people on their friends list that see this? Or can outsiders?
If you put it public, I'm sure everybody sees it.
Because there is you can allow. In other words, when you go to the settings and you
just your friends.
You click on privacy.
Yeah.
What you post can be public. It can be private. It can be your friends only. And if you want, you can have friends of your friends see it, or you can have just you see it. Now, when everything is chosen to be public, so that means that it goes beyond your friends list.
I think so. I'm not Mr. Mark Zuckerberg.
It sounds a little more about ego than anything else. I mean, your employer.
Sounds more like Big Brother.
It
sounds more like we got too much power to private industry. That's what it sounds like.
In other words, let's say somebody's an exceptional employee, but there's a personality clash between that employee and the supervisor, and the person types in Facebook how he really feels about the supervisor. And the supervisor hears that somebody doesn't like him or her. Oh, somebody doesn't like him. That doesn't give them the right to fire somebody because you don't like them. That's kind of like the same as like office politics. You know, you kiss my ass and you schmooze up to me, and then I will be nice to you. You don't like me, you disagree with me. Oh, then I will fire you.
That's how we took away the freedom from the individual, okay? By making everything private. Jobs, the security of an individual is up to a job provider?
Everything, your very livelihood and
right.
existence it depends on how a private sector boss or business owner or CEO thinks of you, what they think of you.
During history, of
Job
course,
review,
people would not hire Jews. They would not hire blacks.
Mm-hmm.
And what were these people supposed to do to survive?
That's why affirmative action was invented, came into be, because they weren't getting hired. And then people bitch and moan that say, well, affirmative action is unfair.
Yeah.
Well,
it wasn't unfair at the time to take the white instead of the black, was it?
Well, the discrimination and bigotry is not fair either.
Then it wasn't fair. I mean, unfair, right? Or whatever.
Well, the teabaggers will tell you that all this, and they're blowing their idiotic hot air. They will tell you that all these things are unfair and they're not right and they're not moral. Meanwhile, being able to steal from the masses and lie to the masses for the sake of profit. Oh, I suppose that's
good old capitalism.
That's good. Yeah. Well, good old capitalism. Is that like saying the grand old party?
Yeah.
GOP.
The greedy old party.
Instead of the greedy old party, which
Yeah.
is the real word for them, real terminology for them. So it's all about, do as I say, not as I do. It's hypocrisy. Of course, the Bible is loaded with information about, how God has a disdain for hypocrites. Oh, by the way, you were right. And I want to salute Dr. Gary Null for saying it and opening my eyes. The people, the supposed progressive people on MSNBC, your Keith Olbermann and your Rachel Maddow, the Motormouth Maddow, these so-called progressives, and this was going to be part of my monologue, but I have to get it off my chest. These so-called progressives in the spotlight on MSNBC have a disdain for conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists.
Uh-huh.
Okay, a disdain for them. Meanwhile, more and more conspiracies are being proven to be true.
Correct.
In a rapid amount. And they have you have to think, why do they have a disdain for conspiracy theories? And they're supposed to be progressive, supposed liberal, on MSNBC. Maybe is it because the conspiracies point the guilt, point the blame at elitists and corporations, perhaps?
Or maybe it's because Fox News is all about conspiracy.
No, I'm not talking about Fox. I'm talking about MSN.
I'm talking about Fox.
I'm talking
MSN. So they have so many of them that are proved wrong and are wrong and everything, so that maybe those people on MSNBC don't want to go there.
So MSNBC are more or less corporate kiss-ass jellyfish that don't want to tell you the real truth like progressives are supposed to. And
well, if they consider it a conspiracy theory, they're not going to even investigate it. Okay? Right off the top.
I was reading an article that, I think it said something like there are 32 or 30 something or other conspiracy theories that were proven to be absolute truth, that were formerly just theories.
Well, that's how you prove a theory, don't you? You continue to investigate it.
But Rachel,
you propose it because you got certain things that work together. You propose the theory and then you prove it.
Right. Well, Rachel Maddow and Keith Olbermann have a disdain for conspiracy theorists. That don't sound right, because conspiracy theories the blame usually points to the fat cats. You know, the elitists.
Everything points to the fat cats.
Your corporations.
Jeez.
All right, but continue.
Lieutenant Governor Rick Sheehy.
Who the hell is this?
Resigned Saturday after breaking the public trust.
Which state?
Governor Heinemann said. The Omaha World Herald reported that Sheehy resigned after it raised questions about improper cell phone calls to 4 women, none of whom were his wife.
So we're talking about Nebraska. You said Omaha.
Like Omaha.
All right, I just wanted to find out.
During the past 4 years.
Yeah.
The World Herald said in its online edition on Saturday that it discovered Sheehy made thousands of late-night calls to the women on his state-issued cell phone. A Republican. Another Republican. Caught.
You said Republican caught?
Caught.
Caught.
Yeah, it's Nebraska. Okay?
I thought everybody makes nice out there in the heartland of America.
In Nebraska land.
They have corruption out there too?
They have corruption everywhere. You have a Republican.
All those farm people have learned about corruption? Famines.
Yeah.
A lot of beef, a lot of cattle in Nebraska from what I understand. And corn fields. But I hear that the price of a steak in a restaurant is still sky high. Gee, sounds a lot like capitalism in its pure form, huh? You have an overabundance of a product, but the price never goes down.
That's right.
Sounds like greedy capitalism to me.
Not the way we do business.
Like the conservatives.
San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
A former police commissioner for Puerto Rico's capital has pleaded guilty to child pornography in a plea agreement with United States authorities. Hilton Cordero Rosario is expected to serve 10 years in prison as a result of Friday's plea. Cordero was accused of persuading his teenage daughter's friend to expose her genitals and of taking pictures of her.
Where did she do this?
Authorities also said that they had seized a computer belonging to him with graphic images of other minors.
Oh. And when you say minors, are they male and female, or just male, or just female?
I have no idea, but they are below the age of consent in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, I just want to go on the record and say that a boy who is under 18 cannot be corrupted, because they're, with the hormones flying around, if a teacher, a hot-looking teacher wants to have sex with a 16-year-old student or 15-year-old, and he's walking around with a damn boner all the time, I don't think that's corrupting the morals of a minor or endangering the morals of a minor.
What the heck does that have to do with...
Maybe girls can be traumatized, but not little boys, huh?
What does that have to do with Mr. Cordero?
Absolutely nothing.
Right, fine.
But I'm making a statement about people being arrested and put in prison, like this very attractive teacher from Florida, a blonde who was in prison for having an affair with a teenage boy who was in her class. She was doing him a big favor, breaking him in like a baseball glove.
That's another issue.
She went to jail for it, and I saw a picture of her, and she was quite delectable and succulent.
I'm sure they had some of that
Succulents?
amongst their trysts.
So it is not a crime to break in a hot-looking girl breaking in a teenage boy. Well, of course, all the mothers
It is a crime. It's statutory
all
rape.
the mothers of the teenage boys would be all upset. Well, hey, when I was 12, 13, from that age until I was 18, we were all really, we were a bunch of horny perverts.
That's every boy's fantasy.
We were perverts. So how on earth could you traumatize us if an attractive teacher wanted to fool around?
Is that the intent of the law?
Well, the law is a funny thing in the United States. You know, like prostitution's illegal, marijuana's illegal in a lot of states. So, you know, the law is kind of strange.
And if you look behind it, you'll see a religious aspect.
Illogical, right. The right-wing fundamentalist, zealot, religious aspect is behind all these laws in America, with this ridiculous, stupid, puritanical way of thinking that Americans have, you know, hypocritical often, because the leaders, the politicians that put these laws into place often do not practice what they preach. It's just like the Catholic Church.
Oh, it's strange you mentioned that.
Really? You're kidding me?
A Catholic hospital in Colorado has argued in court documents that it is not liable for the deaths of twin 7-month-old fetuses because fetuses are not people under state law.
No, they're not. And neither are corporations people.
So far...
Old man Spock. When I said the word illogical, I just wanted to touch base with you guys.
So far, courts have sided with the hospital. But that defense contradicts Catholic teaching that human life is sacred from the moment of conception.
And who decides that? Does the Bible decide that?
The Pope.
The Pope, a human being.
That's correct.
That was born into...
The Catholic Church has never gone by what the Bible says.
A human being that was born into sin. Just like all of us.
The Roman Catholic Church has never.
I
It
noticed
is a
that.
totally different religion that stole the title Christian.
It's like a cult.
Okay?
It's like a cult.
It was a cult. Simon Magus, the Babylonian mystery religion.
What about some of these Protestant denominations that are very much like a cult? You know, like dancing around with poisonous snakes in the congregation, like some of them, and all the evangelicals that are stark raving nuts, thinking that they're speaking in tongues. And I had a little debate with Kent Create about that. I says, don't let anybody tell you that these tongues are for today and that they're genuine. It's just a bunch of babbling
Gibberish.
gibberish.
Gibberish. The issue of whether a fetus is a person was raised in a lawsuit filed by Jeremy Scotchill, whose 31-year-old wife Lori died in 2006 at St. Thomas More Hospital in Cannon City, Colorado. Lori Scotchill was 7 months pregnant with twins at the time. The suit claims the hospital failed to perform an emergency cesarean section to save the fetuses. A brief filed by the hospital, owned by Englewood, Colorado-based Catholic Health Initiatives, said that the fetuses are not covered by the state's Wrongful Death Act. Under Colorado law, a fetus is not a person, and plaintiffs' claims for wrongful death must therefore be dismissed, the hospital argued. A state district court and an appeals court agreed with the hospital. The case, originally filed in 2007, is on appeal to the Colorado Supreme Court. Southern Baptist ethicist Richard Land
Here we go.
said the hospital failed to live up to its pro-life principles. There's a difference between legal and being right. Either a fetus is a person, or it is not. Catholic Health Initiatives, which runs 78 hospitals in 14 states, would not comment on the specifics of the lawsuit. Archbishop Samuel Aquila of Denver, Bishop Michael Sheridan of Colorado Springs, and Bishop Fernando Isern of Pueblo issued a statement saying they could not comment on ongoing legal disputes. But they said they will review the litigation and policies of Catholic Health Initiatives to ensure they conform with Catholic teaching. Amy Haddad, director of the Center for Health Policy and Ethics at Jesuit-run Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska, said the hospital seems to be ignoring church teaching. That inconsistency is morally troubling, she said. It demands more of an explanation than the letter of the law.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. You have a short one to bang out?
No.
Okay, so then we will take a break. It is time for the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight known as lunch, followed by mega supplementation. I was talking to Dr. Bill about the fact that so many products today, appliances, electrical appliances of all different kinds, I think they have a deliberate built-in obsolescence put into them, because instead of lasting for, a few years, several years or longer like they did back in the day, they die. They burn out on you. Like it could be like a few months, several months. It could be like right away. And it's happened to me well too often. The compact fluorescent lights are not lasting the usual 5 or 7 years like they did, they're burning out. I had an ultrasonic, the better one, the more expensive one, ultrasonic humidifier, cool mist humidifier that died, that burnt out at the 3rd year. This is the 3rd winter season, and it wasn't cheap, and it died. It just went kaput. So, you know, here's another part of capitalism, capitalism's ill-gotten gains, probably because of the one word, deregulation. Deregulation allows companies to lie to you and mislead you and rob you as a consumer. You know. So is my assumption.
I know a person who has a refrigerator for over 50 years.
It's an older model, right?
Still working. Still working.
I've heard of old-time Volkswagen Beetles going strong after 20 years in Latin America, in Mexico. I mean, we can go on and on and on. So we think there's a built-in obsolescence, so they're designed to break down, so you have to keep on buying more and more and more. And the CEOs do it because they can.
It's good for business.
It's good for business. It also equals greed, and it is considered ill-gotten gains in my book. It is immoral, and it is not fair to mainstream America, to the consumer, who is not being educated enough, because there are still idiots out there that only believe what they hear on the nightly news, the nightly local news.
Or Fox News.
Or Fox News. And these people, they'll never interview a real consumer advocate that tells you the truth. When it comes to health and nutrition, they always go to the registered dietitian or the drug-oriented medical doctor. They never go to a Dr. Gary Null or a Dr. Julian Whitaker. Never. And you only hear the side that the powers that be, the corporations, want you to hear, the drug companies. Yeah.
The official.
So these news people are basically company ass-kissing corporate whores.
Or they just take the easy way out. They take the press release and that's it.
I mean, even Lionel holds back a little with telling people what's really going on. Barack Obama does. He doesn't tell all. But Mr. Gore, Al Gore, told a lot when he was on David Letterman. Al Gore said, these people in Washington do what they do because their campaigns are being funded by,
geez, like this is good. This is new news.
The corporations, so they have to kowtow to them.
Jeez.
Well, you never hear anybody else say it.
What are you talking about? Everybody says it. Everybody knows it. Just they don't call it bribery. That's all.
They don't call it bribery.
They don't call it what it is.
Okay, Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday. Sunday, February the 3rd, 2013. Super Bowl Sunday. And of course, I got my Sunday go-to-meeting for Super Bowl Sunday dress wear on with a brand new tie that I wore last night at the wrestling event. Jason Speed's wrestling event. Brother Speed at the Party Zone, USA, in Middletown, New York. Sponsored and catered to by the Greek Cafe of Middletown, New York. Just say hi to our friends up there. Anyway, let me do some promo and get it out of the way. This gentleman next to me here, this is a self-portrait of the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman. It is a watercolor painting, because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman is a fine watercolor artist. go to your browser, if it happens to be Google, and type in William J. Eisenman collection, and you'll see the slideshow. And you can also see the entire album at the Newsletter Censored Facebook page. And if you see something you like, email Dr. Bill at newslettercensored.com, and he may still have the painting, and you can acquire one of his authentic signed paintings. Okay, you make him a good offer, a nice sizable gift to support this work. But it's got to be sizable, because this is an authentic, these are one-of-a-kind paintings, they're not prints. The very best way to join and be a part of our organization, if you're wondering, gee, how do we become a part of the Newsletter Censored Mega Life 21 organization? Our entire backbone and foundation of the organization is to get your free annual subscription to Censored with your gift to support this work. One of a kind, founded in 1977 by the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. There is no newsletter out there like Censored. No newsletter is as hard-hitting as Censored. So go to newslettercensored.com, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your annual subscription, your free annual subscription to Censored. This is how you join our organization. Like I said before, there's absolutely nothing out there like Censored. It is the most hardest hitting news and information that you will hear anywhere in the world or in the universe. It tells all. It really does. So this is how you join us. You need Newsletter Censored. We are living in the end times. You need Newsletter Censored to learn how to defeat a conservative, and to learn what the Bible really has to say, and not what right-wing, zealot, holy roller fundamentalists say about the Bible. Like your right-wing counterfeit Christians that do not know the God of the Bible. They don't ask them, and they can't quote anything. And if they do, it's an absurd, ridiculous, inaccurate quote to justify, what comes out of their mouth. Like some idiot, some teabagger says the Bible says that if you don't work, you don't eat. These are people who want to hoard the masses of money that they accumulate. Could be the rich, of course, but there's a lot of middle class teabaggers out there who mistakenly want to blame everything on progressive liberals as far as taxes go, but it was Ronald Reagan that shifted the tax burden from the rich to the middle class and the poor. All right, the Republican Reagan. And I agree, the middle class are being strangled. But I tried to tell that on the air when I was on Time Warner, award-winning Time Warner show, Keeping Country Strong, okay, up in Hudson Valley, and they just didn't want to accept. And some of them were lower middle class people working on the set. They don't want to accept the fact that it was the Republicans that shifted the tax burden. It's like they couldn't believe it. It's almost like they're under a spell. They're hypnotized. Idiots. Idiots. These are the same low-income idiots, or, middle-class income morons that voted for a Republican Congress in the last election. That we have to get rid of now, of course. But, you know what? The way things are going, I'm not sure if replacing everybody with a Democrat would really do a lot of good. I mean, it will be the lesser of the two evils, But then look at all these Democrats that have sold out to the fat cats that vote with the Republicans. That's what it is. A Democrat who believes always in this ridiculous bipartisanship and compromises by giving in to the Republicans, to me, is representing the elitists. You know, the rich, corporations, and selling out the masses that put them in office, the voters, as soon as they get elected. You know, I mean, it's obvious there are Democrats that do that vote against something that would help the people and vote for something that would help corporations. We call them blue dog Democrats. Like a national health care program. What was it? Senators Dodd and Baucus. Barney Frank voted against national health care.
We all did.
Barney Frank, the one
wasn't even on the agenda.
The one that needed a bra, that had his nipples sticking out of his sweater when he was giving a speech that time.
The public option was never on the agenda.
No, they took it off right away.
Correct.
Because they were all paid off, even Democrats. I mean, after hearing about, you know, how the MSNBC people hated conspiracy theories, like for instance Alex Jones, Jesse Ventura's show, I decided that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I am totally going with independence completely. They can go screw themselves at MSNBC. You know, she sure does a lot of talking when she's on a David Letterman show, though. Rachel Maddow, Motormouth Maddow. I mean, I'm happy that she's anti-Republican and anti-right-wing, but she's not anti-enough if she's putting down conspiracy theories, because many of them have been proven to be true. Okay, now those paintings are done up here, right? Okay. Let me see how many we got. One, blah, blah. All right. I will show them. These are some of the paintings that are finished and are ready to be scanned and put on the internet. You have a name for this lovely woman?
Nope.
Okay. Let's just call her Lovely Sexy Brunette for now. It kind of has like an old-time pinup style to it. Alright, you got that? I don't know if they got it, but hopefully they got it.
I think so.
More or less.
Move it. Yeah.
Alright. Alright, that's the first one. There's another one coming, but it's not finished yet, but it's almost finished. Here is an abstract. Very colorful. Abstract, done by the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman. Alright. I'm just assuming you can see it. Alright. And here is a just a South Pacific, a little South Pacific island by Dr. Bill. I guess, alright. Watercolor paintings. Alright. And then the last one I will show when it's completely finished. It's quite nice, though, the one he's working on now. It's a landscape. Okay. So, I got a message recently from the top I guess 20% for the America's poor and soon to be poor middle class. It is a frightening robotic sound. Something that goes something like this. We are here to kill you. 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 Wow. That sounds like we are here to kill you. The genocide of the poor, getting them out of the way. Slowly, by spiking the food supplies, all that poison that you people think is healthy, nutritious food, your groceries that you bring in the house, because you're not educated consumers that really researches what you're consuming, all that genetically modified poison from Monsanto, genetically modified seeds. I'm very happy to say that many farmers worldwide are saying no to Monsanto, a very demonic force, you know, and it just amazes me how many people that live week to week just keep on voting for a party that only represents the rich, and they don't have a pot to piss in, but they just keep on voting for them. They believe the lies. They believe the conservative propaganda.
They believe that they are the moral party.
Yeah, because they've been told a lie so many times, so often for so many years. The Joseph Goebbels Nazi Germany technique of telling a lie over and over again, that they believe it to be true. They're brainwashed. They still believe. If you told them the real truth, like that the United States is under a curse, it is one of the lost, cursed tribes of ancient Israel, a modern-day descendant, Manasseh, and Great Britain is Ephraim, I believe, they'll look at you like you're from another planet. They won't believe it. They still believe that in America's God's country, all that flag-waving patriotism. The United States will, talking about the first horse of the apocalypse, the white horse representing false prophets and the false church, well, I think the first seal has been broken, and we have the white horse now, because there is plenty of confusion out there in the world and in the United States. There is more than enough false prophets and lying leaders out there, and people are believing them, of course. The angel of light, which is how Satan comes to us. What better way for Satan to be the angel of light than to work in and through the churches? And he does. That phony baloney prosperity preacher that you send money to, that's an example of an angel of light. And so people have to be aware of this. What do they say now? Christianity, the angel of light will, the false prophet and the angel of light will come to us wrapped in an American flag holding the Bible. That's how Satan will come to dupe Americans in that way.
Or a cross.
Huh?
Or a cross.
Or holding a cross, right, exactly.
But it's all phony baloney. You know? But just believing tradition rather than the Bible. That's all it amounts to. Mark 7, verse 7.
Mark 7, verse 7.
Yep. You make of me no effect because of your traditions.
Yeah.
Okay?
Which is
More
like,
by tradition rather than what the Bible says.
isn't that like a form of worshiping an idol, a graven image?
It's a false religion.
It's a false religion.
It doesn't exist. The deity that they worship does not exist.
Right.
Just like the thousands of other deities throughout history who today do not exist, did not exist,
What about,
and people devoted their lives to them.
what about the modern day false deity that the Republican Party worships, which is money? Money is their god. It's
Yeah.
profits before people,
And their church is a bank.
and the church is the bank. Profits before people, and profits before the planet. Now, I guess the best bet is for Americans to remove their money from the evil, greedy banks and put it in like a federal credit union or a small savings and loan. You know, of course, you won't have as many ATM machines all over the country to stop at, but at least you won't be supporting these banks. That's my Super Bowl half game show. My Super Bowl Sunday half game show. Not that I will be really performing at halftime, but I figure let me do that now. My Jew's Harp medley. All right. Back to sinking our teeth into these readings on Super Bowl Sunday, February the 3rd, 2013. And the big fat rat said, the woodchuck, I think more than one woodchucks said that we will get an early spring, but that doesn't surprise me because of global warming, what it's doing to the world. Oh, by the way, Australia, those poor souls, global warming is taking its toll on the continent of Australia, the land down under. It has been having severe flooding all over the country and record high temperatures that was never seen before in Australia. Dangerously high temperatures because of the temperature of the ocean rising with the level of the sea. Antarctica contains, I believe, most of the world's fresh water, which is frozen. Since Antarctica is also the driest place on Earth, it is a desert which has less humidity and precipitation than the Gobi Desert. And most of the oxygen, this is what got to me, most of the oxygen of the planet Earth is provided by the Amazon rainforest. Right. Think about it, and then think about what they're doing to the rainforest because of greed, cutting down all those trees. You are slowly killing off. Hold on. You are slowly killing off the world's oxygen supply when you destroy the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah.
All right, commence.
This person wrote about selective obedience to the Constitution of the United States.
Selective obedience.
Yeah. And this other person is now answering that, and he says, Doblin, that's the other person who wrote the letter, suggests that folks who have the audacity to speak up for states' rights can't pick which parts of our federal union they like. However, Doblin sees fit to choose which parts of our Constitution should be followed.
Yeah.
He may take issue with the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and the 10th Amendment, powers reserved to the states and the people, but they are what they are. If he believes those amendments should simply be ignored, then he will have to forgive us, those of us who call for unconstitutional laws to be ignored also. The governor of New Jersey, Governor Christie,
Crisco Christie, the evil twin has returned.
should be commended
Commended?
for vetoing a minimum wage bill.
Wait a minute, whoa. What son of a bitch wrote this article? I want to crack him with my shillelagh.
A Michael Schultz.
Michael's, what?
The writer is a research director of the Employment Policies Institute, a Washington-based research organization.
Michael Salzberg?
Salzman.
Michael Salzman. If you're ever passing through northeastern New Jersey, you punk, look me up. You're against the minimum wage, you greedy motherfucker?
Governor Christie should be commended for vetoing a minimum wage bill and supporting a boost in his state's earned income tax credit. But his call for an alternative wage hike of a slightly smaller amount is unfortunate.
I could punch him out, man.
85% of the most credible economic studies on the minimum wage from the last 2 decades point to job loss after a wage hike. Even a phased-in increase, as the governor has called for, would still reduce employment opportunities for some of New Jersey's least skilled job seekers. That's a recipe for disaster in a state already struggling with a 24.5% teen unemployment.
The jobs are not out there. Despite what the idiot teabaggers tell you, the jobs are not out there.
I guess that's because of the minimum wage is $7.25.
Oh, that's a tremendous amount of money with the high cost of living we have today. It's still a drop in the bucket.
It's still another way of siphoning the money upward. Okay,
Correct.
Thank you.
Hey, it happens everywhere, more areas in America than you think. Even in the professional wrestling industry, even worse. There are many corrupt, greedy, crooked promoters out there, and the money definitely gets siphoned upward, and the people on the bottom get nothing.
Been that way for a long time.
And corporations are like that now too.
Well, that's what it is. If they don't want to pay a decent wage, and they write the wage off as a tax deduction, what the hell do you call that?
You know, I saw a beautiful banner about unions, and it was a quote from a union worker, and he was saying, before unions came around, workers in the United States had horrible conditions that they were under. Unsafe, despicable working conditions.
And the big boys loved it.
No benefits.
They loved it.
No benefits. Very low, sub-adequate wages. Couldn't make ends meet. If you had a family, forget it. You weren't covered for anything. And the total control, your livelihood and your life is pretty much at the hands of an employer, of the CEO of the company. They could fire you for any reason if they don't like your face, they don't like your voice, any unfair reason they can get rid of you. What's up with this? What is it? Right to work state crap. That's all for the employer, right?
The way to bust unions, baby.
It's a way to bust unions, so they want to bring back the slave labor of the old days.
NRA is a union. How come nobody wants to bust that?
NRA.
Yeah. The AMA too. That's a union too. How come nobody wants to bust that?
Yeah, the AMA and
the AFL-CIO, hey, we want to bust that. The Teamsters, we want to bust that right away.
because they want to help people. That's why they want to bust it. The AMA, together with the drug companies, their lobbyists, well, they're the ones that are censoring all the holistic natural health practitioners throughout the world. And you're right to take nutritional supplementation and buy vitamins. They want to end that. Well, continue with this. This punk, man.
Governor Christie.
Not, yeah, the other guy, yeah. All right.
We're finished with him.
Oh. Okay.
Now we're going to get an opposite point of view.
Okay.
Governor Christie is rightfully being criticized for vetoing legislation that would have raised our state's minimum wage. However, the real issue is why Congress hasn't raised the national minimum wage, which has been stuck at $7.25 per hour since 2009.
Really?
Imagine working 40 hours per week and only being paid $290 before any taxes or deductions. How could you afford housing, food, and transportation? How could you even survive?
That's what I said before.
Last July, the Fair Minimum Wage Act was introduced by congressional Democrats. It proposed raising the minimum wage to $9.80 over 3 years.
It's called the Fair Minimum Wage Act. Fair. You're right.
Raising the minimum wage to this level would go a long way toward improving the lives of many working men and women and fuel economic growth. More money earned means more money spent. Christie's callous veto of the proposed minimum wage increase should be roundly criticized. The real focus on the issue should be pushing New Jersey's congressional delegation, especially the Republicans, to fight for a meaningful increase in the minimum wage this session of Congress. The working men and women of our nation have earned it. That won't happen.
Yeah. I mean, heaven forbid it's the employees that help make the profit for the owners, for the companies, and it's the employees who have to drag their ass out of bed in the morning and are expected to work at an optimal level. I mean, very, very selfish, very greedy, but typical of the human race.
That's the setup. That's the economic setup.
It's just like a dictator in a third world country. It's total selfishness, total ego, total evil.
They love capitalism. You see the red China?
Well, China's embracing capitalism. They got Foxconn paying those people 32 cents an hour, assembling your smartphones and laptops.
Starting this week, New Jersey merchants are allowed to pass along some credit card swipe fees to customers. However, retailers, restaurant owners, and trade groups say it is highly unlikely any stores in the state will do so. The retail groups also say recent news stories warning of coming swipe fee surcharges are propaganda to shift the focus from credit card company fees to merchant pricing. Merchants have no desire to surcharge and no plans to surcharge. The concept of widespread surcharging is purely card industry propaganda. New Jersey merchants are theoretically allowed to charge customers for Visa and MasterCard charges. But anyone seeking to do so would have to meet a complex set of requirements, and few retailers could meet them. And North Jersey retailers of all sizes said customers don't need to worry. They will never tack an extra credit card fees. Debit cards are not involved, of course.
Well, a debit card is connected to your checking account, and if you don't keep a specific minimum balance in your checking account and maintain that, you do have to pay a monthly service charge of, I don't know, with Bank of America, I think it's like $9.
This is when you buy something.
Yeah.
When you buy something in the old days, the merchant that you bought from, he paid a 4% fee to MasterCard and Visa.
Well, the fee is higher, I think.
For the privilege of using
the privilege of having a credit card machine for swiping customer credit cards and using credit cards. The fee now is unfair to the merchant. The merchant has to pay more than the percentage that you said, I believe, and some merchants, they have to pass on that cost to the consumer.
Yeah, and that's why any fees. That's why it's bad to have private banks issuing credit cards.
Oh yeah, because they
credit cards should be issued by the government.
Well, before.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that akin to like socialism?
Maybe the truth hurts. That maybe socialism, if it's uncorrupted, is a much better form of system and more fair.
We have a better system than all of them combined.
It's
called God's economics.
God's economics.
Yeah.
Under Republicans, banks were allowed to charge late fees, overdraft fees. I think
Ronald Reagan. It goes back to Ronald Reagan again.
The overdraft fee was like $40 a pop with Bank of America. The overdraft fees.
Okay.
Punishment fees. I call
Ronald Reagan did away with the usury fees, the usury laws. They are allowed to charge you anything they want.
So
whatever they can get away with.
So Ronald Reagan, the Hollywood actor, he was kind of a greedy fellow, huh?
He was also suffering from Alzheimer's a lot earlier than people assume.
That's why.
According to what the hell's her name? Caldecott.
Oh.
The nuclear Helen Caldecott.
So
she spoke to him early on in his administration.
So this is why every time the press threw a question at Ronald Reagan, he would shake his head and go. He would pause and go, well, let's see. I don't recall. I don't recall.
He didn't recall.
He really didn't recall.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, I don't recall.
But I'll obey these advisors who advise me to give all this stuff to the big boys. All these benefits and rewards. To all the big boys. To hell with the little guy. Okay? Yet I'll pretend that I'm one of them. I'll wear jeans. I'll wear jeans and a cowboy hat. I'll eat a burger. I'll eat a burger at a tailgate party.
A burger loaded with pink slime. 25% pink slime, loaded with ammonia.
We probably didn't know about it at that time. Well, I probably wasn't around at that time.
Your kids were eating pink slime in school cafeterias and you didn't even know it, people?
Exactly.
But there you go. Deregulation allows food companies to put any damn thing they want.
Well, of course, and Mr. Obama, putting that thing through. Now today, if you happen to be working for, let's say, a chicken bigwig, and you find they're abusing the chickens, and you report it, you are now a terrorist. You are a terrorist!
So that's giving the rights of corporations. That's giving corporations more rights than the American people.
That's correct.
Than we, the people.
That's correct.
So in other words,
they've had it for a long time.
We are supposed to be slaves to the corporation.
Correct.
According to the two-party system.
Right, and unfortunately today, yet they actually have to pay you. Pretty soon, maybe they won't. Maybe they won't.
What?
Okay? They have to pay you. They'll have you as a slave.
Well, I will go on record, and I apologize to some of the Facebook liberal, supposedly progressive liberal Facebook pages that seem to be partial to the Democratic Party. I do apologize that I am going to have to unlike. I would have to click the unlike button and resign from the pages that support the Democratic Party, and I would have to just keep the conspiracy theory pages, you know, that I will deal with from now on, because it seems like the whole two-party system is corrupt.
Seems like.
And on the take.
Seems like. Is this like an epiphany here?
Well, after hearing
It's been going on for a long time.
After hearing that MSNBC contains many corporate ass-kissers, corporate whores, that don't, you know, just like when Barbara Walters was rude to Jesse Ventura on The View, giving him a hard time, and other people giving Jesse a hard time when he was on a talk show, not wanting to accept the facts, that the real truth is a very bitter pill to swallow, and they were unwilling to accept it when they had Jesse Ventura on their shows.
They were unwilling to accept things without any investigation.
Yeah,
and that's what many people do.
Well, I've been finding out the last minute when Jesse Ventura's show is on the air, the conspiracy theory, because True TV is doing nothing to advertise Jesse Ventura's show. Nothing whatsoever. So I get it from on Facebook from a conspiracy theory page. All at the last minute, and guess what time slot he always has? 11 p.m. Not a great time slot.
It's over prime time. Yep.
Way over prime time.
Yeah.
And they do nothing to promote his show on True TV. Shame on you, True TV. True. Yeah, right. True TV. They're true to the sponsors, giving the corporate CEOs a blowjob. Upper executives of True TV.
President Obama begins his second term confronting a very familiar and frustrating incongruity: the gap between how much he has changed and how little about the country seems different.
Mm-hmm.
A partial accounting of Obama's first term reveals more accomplishments than most presidents secure in two. The health care law, of course, is almost certainly the most significant piece of social policy since the Great Society. The rescues of the financial and auto sectors, though begun under President George W. Bush, were mostly carried out and completed by Obama. The Dodd-Frank financial overhauls included the creation of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The stimulus financed long-term investments in everything from weatherization to electronic medical records and high-speed rail. I don't see any of that going on, though.
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
Obviously, they put money into it, but you know what's going on with it?
The upgrading and updating of the American transportation system,
Yeah, and high-speed rail.
to be equal to what they have in Europe and Japan.
The Chinese just launched their big old high-speed rail.
Yeah, didn't
The other day.
don't the Chinese have like a monorail of some kind?
Yeah, it's high speed, baby.
Like the bullet train.
It is a bullet train. The list goes on.
Yeah, because a bullet train will be great because it's an alternative to being ripped off by the airline industry.
However, we'd have to really fix up our tracks because the tracks are crap. There are areas where the train has to go 5 miles an hour over a track.
The tracks are crap.
Yeah.
You're right. They're not, you know.
The whole Amtrak thingy, you know.
Oh, Amtrak, Metroliner? It's a dinosaur.
Jesus. The list goes on. The end of the Iraq War, along with a timetable for ending the war in Afghanistan. The killing of Osama bin Laden. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Executive actions to supplant the stalled DREAM Act, enabling undocumented immigrant youths to stay legally in the United States. Huge increases in auto fuel efficiency standards. More than $3 trillion in deficit reduction over a decade. You never hear much about that, do you?
No.
The already $3 trillion in deficit reduction that's already been in place under Obama. No, Mr. Cantor and the rest, they want more cuts. More cuts. We want to cut in Medicare and then Medicaid and Social Security. All welfare programs. Must cut, must cut. That's where all the money is. Yet, despite it all, the status quo seems strangely undisturbed. Unemployment is exactly where it was the month Obama took office.
Well, because companies are still outsourcing and more U.S. jobs are leaving the country and
they have the money stashed overseas, which they ain't bringing back.
yeah, the money
They
is
pay
all.
taxes on and create jobs.
Yeah, so they've been lying to you people, you idiot, numbskull lemmings. They've been lying to you about trickle-down economics, which never existed. It's not trickling down. It's siphoning up to the fat cats.
The recovery has been lethargic. Washington is even more bitterly polarized. Inequality continues to increase. The number of uninsured Americans has barely budged. Wall Street remains unstable. The oceans, to hark back to a famous line from a 2008 Obama speech, continue to rise. Battles over spending, taxation, and the deficit consume Washington. Congressional gridlock and brinkmanship threaten the economy. Some of the disconnect between accomplishment and impact is because of the muffling effects of House Republicans and the economic crisis. But some is a result of the unusually long lag that accompanied Obama's most significant first-term accomplishments. This makes Obama's second term somewhat unusual. His legacy will be secured less by enacting a new policy than by consolidating previous achievements. Foremost among them is the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, which won't begin delivering on its promise to insure tens of millions of Americans until 2014. If Obama leaves office, having implemented a successful near universal health care program, he will be, and will be seen to be, a transformative president. Yet even now, after the law prevailed in the Supreme Court, its success is not a sure thing. The implementation of any major law confronts potholes, but the Affordable Care Act faces unusually large challenges. In a nod to Republican concerns during its drafting, the law created a huge role for states Many Republican governors are using that power to undermine the law rather than tailor it to the state's needs. By the end of 2013, the federal government must establish health insurance exchanges in as many as 25 states where mostly Republican governors have refused to set them up. That will be a gargantuan task. Even worse, the Supreme Court's decision upholding the law also ruled that state participation in Medicaid expansion, which accounts for about half of the new insurance coverage, is optional. Only 22 states have committed to the Medicaid expansion. Opposition to the law will probably fade. The Medicaid formula, in which the federal government pays all the costs of expanded coverage up front and 90% thereafter, will prove difficult for states to resist for more than a year or two. But it will take time for Republicans to figure out the politics of making peace with the bill, much less playing a constructive role in its implementation. The key for Obamacare is making sure it functions well in the states implementing it to prove the law can work when a state doesn't purposefully make a hash of it. The Dodd-Frank Act poses similar challenges. The bulk of the law's rules were left to the various regulatory agencies to write. Of the 398 rules required, only 198 are finished, according to an analysis by law firm Davis, Polk & Wardwell. This is because of the size of the task, but also because of an organized counterattack from lobbyists who seek to gum up the rules writing process, and Republicans who have cut funding for implementation. Perhaps the toughest challenge of Obama's second term will be getting Washington out of the recovery's way. The economy, while hardly roaring, is showing real strength. Housing is turning around. The labor market continues its slow recovery. Although there were notable exceptions, including a weak housing policy, the effort to rescue the economy largely worked. But analysts agree that Washington is holding the recovery back. House Republicans' strategy of forcing a seemingly endless series of cliffs and ceilings, sequesters, potential shutdowns, has cast a pall over the economy. Every business that considers expanding confronts another potentially disastrous political showdown in the weeks and months ahead. Each high-wire conflict gives business a reason to pause rather than invest. If Washington would simply stop threatening the recovery, I don't know why they say Washington. Say Republicans.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to.
They blame them all.
They want to blame them all. They don't want to put the blame on the real culprits, like that scumbag, ugly old turtle-faced Mitch McConnell, who is the one who is a thorn in the side of Barack Obama right from the beginning. He has voted against more bills that Obama was trying to push forth than any other Republican.
Because he wanted to make him a one-term president.
He is a wicked, miserable man. You can just see his face, the miserable look on his face.
The economy would probably look a lot better in 4 years than it does now. The Obama administration still hopes to make big changes in immigration, gun control, tax reform, and other policy areas. Perhaps that optimism will prove justified. But even if it can't persuade Congress to make anything better, The administration will have its work cut out for it. It's reigning Congress that it should stop making the recovery worse. Okay?
But I don't understand why every time Barack Obama is being interviewed, he never puts the blame on a Mitch McConnell.
Well, because he figures, if he starts telling the truth and saying what is right, and he should say, they'll never work with him. He still has that idea that they're gonna work with him.
Bipartisanship.
Bipartisanship.
I hear Mitch McConnell, the polls are not in favor of Mitch McConnell in his home state.
It looks that way. He might get a Tea Party gentleman to run against him.
He is...
Or gentle lady, whatever.
He is... he has put partisan politics, he has put the Republican Party ahead of the good
of the country.
Of the country and the American people.
Correct. And the Republicans do that often.
And he has a miserable, cold, selfish look on his face. He has negativity written all over his face and greed. And of course, John Boehner has this sore loser, whimpery look on his face when things don't go, don't go the way of the Republican Party. He's just got this other miserable look. They're just miserable people. They never have enough. When is enough enough? When does a person have enough money? I don't know, man.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah, when you're underfunded, when you're severely underfunded, having too much moolah is not your problem.
Yeah.
Now, do we have one more good article?
Hold that high five, President. Obama's apparent victory on the fiscal cliff is more like a late-game touchdown that is still being reviewed by replay officials.
Fiscal cliff.
For one thing, Obama's decision to agree not to impose higher taxes on incomes between $250,000 and $400,000 will result in far less revenue than he needs to get. There were similar concessions on dividends and capital gains, and a huge giveaway on the estate tax, which will benefit only the richest of the rich. As a result, Obama's deal will bring in just 40% of the planned revenue. Second, it was troubling that Obama was willing to compromise, despite his recent election mandate. During the negotiations, he reportedly offered up a new formula for calculating the Consumer Price Index, which would have resulted in a decrease in Social Security payments. This inclination to abandon his base and core principles of his party is not promising. There are positives to the fiscal cliff deal worth noting. Pressure from labor and other progressive groups helped save Obama from himself. This coalition advocated hard for a deal that did not trade away key parts of the social contract in cutting the deal. In the end, this worked. Unemployment compensation was extended for those in temporary need. The earned income tax cut for the working poor was bolstered. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security also were not traded away for weak tax hikes. The package, to a small extent, addressed even alternative energy. The real key, however, was decoupling the Bush-era tax cuts. The fact that the middle class and the wealthy were financially linked in the tax code never made sense anyway because of the nation's huge wealth gap. But no one should sleep. There are more battles waiting on even more important issues, including a battle, again, over spending cuts to the social contract. Compromise is part of politics, but the social contract, the bedrock principle The humane existence and democracy in the United States must be preserved above all. Too many have fought for it for too long for a Democratic president to give it up now.
Interesting. Well, I mean, everything just seems to be falling into play with Bible prophecy. You know, the world is deceived. Americans are deceived. The forces of good are always a small flock. Like I was discussing with this very intelligent woman on my Facebook group. Unfortunately, no matter how hard we work and no matter how hard we try to warn people, to inform people like ourselves, people like Dr. Gary No, so on and so forth, it just doesn't do any good. We're always a small flock. The masses continue to believe the false propaganda, which is the first horse, the white horse of the apocalypse, the false prophets, the false teachers. They fall for it, they believe it, and people are still voting two-party system, and worse, people out there that don't have a pot to piss in are still voting Republican based on their religious cult and ideology. And you know, the American news media doesn't really help. You know, they like to broadcast the conflict all the time.
Race.
They're not interested in
interested in who wins. That's it.
In telling the people how it really is. And even more sad, I hear the BBC has sold out to the fat cats. The BBC that I used to look up to so much.
So has CNN.
Well, look at was it Piers Morgan? The jerk? Is that his name?
That's his name, yeah, Piers Morgan. Why is he a jerk?
Because he had some guests on his shows that should have gotten more respect from him.
Who? I hope not the gun favoring people.
No.
Because he gave them what for?
No, not that.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember now. But anyway, what is your take? Have you been following all of Piers Morgan's interviews?
A lot of them, yeah.
And would you say Piers Morgan is a progressive liberal?
Well, I don't know who's a progressive liberal, but he's pretty he's on the beam.
Like Ed Schultz.
But he sees things differently than Americans because he is from England. You see, so he sees things differently. He understands, like the Second Amendment. He doesn't dig it, man. He understands. You don't dig it like the National Rifle Association. That you can't touch nothing in the Second Amendment.
Well,
oh, you can admonish, you can, infringe upon the First Amendment, but don't you dare. Don't you dare tread on the Second Amendment.
Well, they believe that the people...
If I want to own a tank, I own a tank.
The people believe that they should be armed in case that we have a rogue government.
We already have a rogue government. But they ain't doing nothing about it.
Well, I don't think people should be able to own.
And it ain't Obama.
I don't think people should be able to own military.
The Tea Party.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me again. I'm going to attempt to say it. I don't think people should be allowed to own military weapons.
Well, the National Rifle Association does. You know, there's laws against machine guns, don't you? Ever since the days of Al Capone.
Yeah. In other words, if you're a law-abiding citizen and you feel like buying an authentic Soviet AK-47, you cannot legally do that?
Right now you can. From 1996, I believe, till 2004, you could not.
I mean, I don't know how to use one. I would have to take lessons, but I don't have one. But you can You have to get a permit.
What do you think?
You have to get a permit or no?
What do you think these last shootings at the schools and etc. were with that?
No, they were
Semi-automatic,
pistols.
AR, whatever the hell.
They were pistols, right?
No. No, they were not. They were these semi-automatic rifles with large magazine clips.
That this mother had in her collection
For that particular.
for a new
But the one with the
Newtown,
Batman,
Newtown.
the Batman in the cinema. I mean, that guy got off how many shots? In a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
And, you know, he hit 70 people or whatever the hell it
in a
was.
theater.
These weapons are military. They're for the military. They got one purpose and one purpose only. And that's to blow some enemy away.
So this also means that the criminal element has more sophisticated weapons than the police.
The mentally ill element also.
Have more sophisticated weapons than the police because they get their weapons through the black market, and the police are on a tight budget. So, ipso facto ergo,
I don't
the
understand.
black market. So how is gun control going to change anything if the criminals get their weapons and the gangs get their weapons through the black market? How is gun control going to work?
That's the point. You can tighten up stuff actually to have a background check on everybody who sells a weapon and gets a weapon. What's wrong with that?
But
NRA says it won't do anything.
But like I said before, if they get their weapon through the black market, there is no background check. You just bring the money.
Yeah, but the point of it is, though, that because something is going to be circumvented, does that mean there shouldn't be a law against it?
No, there should be a law against it. Yeah.
Okay, so but there ain't no law against it right now.
Like right now, there's a right-wing puritanical fundamentalist law that says prostitution is illegal and marijuana is illegal.
Right.
Now, if you
It's
legalize
circumvented.
drugs, you take them off the black market, right?
And
if
you take them from being a high-priced item, and then a high-priced item, the gangs go for it.
And,
I mean, that's how they
and
make
if
their
you
money.
take prostitution, if you legalize prostitution, then the hookers have to get a health department certificate, or like they do in Nevada.
Works well in Nevada.
They have to be examined under this. Actually, they have to have this device where it has like a bright light where they put the customers, the clients' genitalia on it, and they can see if there's any boo-boos on your Rocky Mountain oysters or your chorizo. Sopressata. They can see if you got anything strange there. Excuse me. So,
The point of it is, the number one entrepreneurial action at any time in any country is the prostitute.
the world's
And
old.
she is disdained by the Republicans.
Yes, she's disdained.
Instead of worshipped.
The world's oldest profession, prostitution, and tax-free income, cash and carry, and also I think the adult industry, the sex industry, is amasses more money than possibly even the drug companies.
Never.
They can't touch the drug companies.
Never. Nobody can touch it.
Yeah, the markup on these drugs are astronomical, right?
Hundreds of thousands of times, I believe Mr. Null has said.
Now, how come the drug companies are not looked upon as
Evil?
glorified drug dealers?
Because they're doing good.
By getting you hooked on medication that does not cure you,
Wow.
that just gives you negative symptoms, more negative side effects, which means more drugs get prescribed. Anyway, thank you for joining
So that's
us.
why you go to doctors, to get cured?
You mean like Dr. Oz?
Somebody ought to tell the doctors in the United States that's why people come to them, to be cured.
To be cured, right. Like the original doctors of the old days. So Dr. Oz, the hypocrite, is telling everybody to vaccinate your kids, except his kids, he won't vaccinate his children, Dr. Oz. And Pierce Morgan got a flu vaccine shot.
And got the flu.
By Dr. Oz on the Dr. Oz show and got very sick shortly after. Now, what's his reasoning for that?
He got the flu.
Why did he get the flu shot on TV?
Because in theory, the flu shot is only 62% effective.
And are you sure he's not doing that because he's kissing sponsor ass on CNN sponsors? Trying to, you know, as a form of kissing up to them?
Why?
The drug companies?
If he got the shot and then ended up with the flu, how is that?
That he's not a liberal.
How is that anything political?
Because liberals usually are very much involved with holistic natural health.
Oh, forget about that.
They're not.
There's not a political thing for that.
Well,
it's an individual thing.
There's a pattern. There's a psychological pattern to it.
No.
A lot of liberals I know, they buy organic food and they take lots of vitamins.
Well, that's good for them, but that doesn't have anything to do with their political stuff.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for Progressive Discussions on Super Bowl Sunday. I am going with the Baltimore Ravens for certain reasons. First of all, I love their purple uniforms, and I like the mean-looking raven bird on the side of their helmet. Number two, I have family from Baltimore, from Maryland. It's number two.
Why did they change from Orioles to Ravens?
No, the Orioles is
birds.
It's a baseball team.
Oh, okay.
They had the Baltimore Colts.
Colts, the nice little Colts.
Who are now the Indianapolis Colts. And the reason why the Colts, I believe, the reason why they left Baltimore is because the owner of the Colts did not want to provide the Colts with a new stadium. The city, the owner wanted it, and the city of Baltimore
didn't want to pay for it.
In other words, like
the big boys always make them do.
Like something that a Michael Bloomberg would probably do and say, not, you know, comply, like he was bucking heads with the Steinbrenners for Yankee Stadium. They don't want the city to pay for it.
Of course not. Why should they?
Which is right. So what happened was the owner of the Colts moved the team to Indianapolis, but the legendary Baltimore Colts should have stood there. You know, you had Johnny Unitas, Bubba Smith back in the old days, you know, when the Colts were real tough. And but anyway, that's what happens. So I like the Ravens for certain reasons, and then also I want to see San Francisco lose because you know, of course, I had a big falling out with Mr. Dan E. Mount of San Francisco, California, for certain personal reasons. So I like, and he put down the Yankees when the Yankees were in the playoffs. He called the Yankees wankies. You know, so I like it, but his San Francisco Giants, I think, won the World Series nevertheless. So I want to see San Francisco 49ers lose. Ken Create is a huge 49ers fan. He wears the jacket, so he's going to be for the 49ers, and I will be for the Ravens. Was it a quote? The Raven?
Nevermore.
Nevermore. All right. Say so long to these people.
So long, people.
Have a fun Super Bowl Sunday. I know you're going to get bombed, people, but please don't drink and drive. Probably going to see a lot of annoying commercials, too, during the Super Bowl. Very expensive commercials. Cost millions of dollars just for a minute, I guess, or 30 seconds. But you're going to see a lot of stupid American beer commercials, because American beer is garbage, and they have a lot of hot chicks in beer commercials, and they don't say anything. There's nothing good to say about the beer. They just use sex to sell it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's crap.